Isolation day 39, Sunday the 26th of April. I hope everyone's well and you're looking after yourselves. What I would like to do today is I'm going to run you through the blood sugar results very quickly, and then I want to get on to a couple of other bits. I had a pretty bad day, to be honest, blood sugar wise, so let's look at those first, and then we'll get on to some more important stuff that I like to talk about. Cheers. This is the Medtronic CareLink overview for the day. Blood glucose reading 6, so I took my blood 6 times. The sensor was on for 24 hours, which makes sense. The only thing that really stands out here, and this is probably by far the worst in a long time, 8 hours 44 minutes in suspend. So the sensor actually switched off for that period of time. And you can see here that actually, if 3.9 is that level that it sets, it only actually went below that twice, and not for a very long period of time. But it obviously did switch off on a number of occasions, as you can tell, to prevent that happening. Let me explain why I think that's happened. So here is my blood glucose readings: 4.2, 6.9, 4.3, 3.7, 7.5. Average blood glucose 5.1. Again, as per usual, sounds okay. Average sensor 5.3. Without the sensor, clearly I would have been a lot lower. You can see here, average daily basal 85%, average daily bolus 15. I didn't take a lot of bolus insulin because my basal seemed to be covering the bases and more. Let's have a look further down. You can see 4.2 to 12 grams of carbs, 12 grams of carbs, 5 grams of carbs, 15 grams of carbs, 23 grams of carbs. Now 23, my blood sugar went up. Here, it obviously hasn't. I may have counted too many carbs here, and therefore my blood sugar went low again. That's pretty much it, to be honest. It wasn't a great day. Lots of tough period of time that it was off. But I guess if we're going to look at it, the positive side of it, that's why the CGM is on. It doesn't bode very well for me transitioning from the keto to the low-fat, plant-based whole food approach, because if my blood sugars are going to drop even further, because my insulin sensitivity is going to increase, I'm going to have to be very, very careful with that. But as I understand it, it is like a stepped approach. Let's leave the blood sugars there. One of the things I wanted to talk about was the fact that type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease. And I hate that word disease, by the way. I really don't like it. But talking to other people with other autoimmune problems, and as I understand it, I think it's the older you get, the more you research and the more you look into problems that you have and issues that you have, and you try and work and source solutions, you try and source the best way of doing something, and you try and ensure that the longevity of your life is secure. What I've noticed over the years, and I've been diabetic for 34, coming up for 35 years next month, and I never really had breathing problems. I was never asthmatic, but about 9 years ago, I began having sinus issues. And these sinus issues would begin in my nose and they go across my face, and I would struggle to breathe for months and months on end. It transpires that I was getting infections, and I was having prednisolone to deal with the infections, and anyone that's been on prednisolone, which is a steroid, knows that it shoots your blood sugar through the roof, and it's very difficult to deal with. I had a number of operations. It's a bit nasty to talk about, but basically what they do is they cauterize it, so they burn it. They burn the inside of your sinuses all the way. And the last one I've had 4 of these, and the last one was really full on, which they had a machine so that they could go all the way up to the outside of your brain, basically, and clear all of the infection, clear all of the issues that you've got up there. And that was about a year ago now. The problem that I've got with it is autoimmune disease is not something that goes away. Sometimes you can take pills for it, sometimes you can help yourself, but what I did was I did a research on it, and I'll put a link below to a really good website, especially for people with type 1. But what I wanted to do was read a bit to you. What it says is, people with type 1 diabetes and autoimmune disease are more likely to have a co-occurring autoimmune disorder. An autoimmune disease, I prefer the word disorder. An autoimmune disease means that your immune system sees your body's own tissue as foreign invaders and attacks itself. For example, if you have type 1, your body mistakenly attacks the insulin-producing beta cells in your body. The reason that co-occurring autoimmune disorders are so common isn't exactly known, although we do know that genetics plays a significant role. So it's good to know that my genetics are attacking me. That's the way you want it to be, isn't it? Because we know that living with type 1 puts you at a higher risk of developing other autoimmune diseases, interesting, it's important to be aware of what the signs and symptoms are. The following are warning signs that are common for all autoimmune diseases, including type 1. Fatigue, rashes, achiness, weight loss, concentration issues, numbness, tingling in extremities, insomnia, abnormal heart rate, fertility problems, abdominal pain. These symptoms are non-specific and don't necessarily indicate other autoimmune diseases. So it then goes on to give you a list of autoimmune diseases and that are associated in particular with type 1. So type 1, and what I know a little bit about, is celiac disease. 10% of the population with type 1 diabetes also have celiac disease. I wasn't aware of that at all. So celiac is an autoimmune disease in which sufferers are unable to eat gluten because it causes their body's immune system to attack its own small intestine. It becomes very painful, very uncomfortable, and it's an awful thing to suffer with. And I know a couple of people that have got that, but they haven't actually got type 1. Then it talks about type 1 and thyroid diseases. It talks about type 1 and multiple sclerosis. It talks about type 1 and lupus. There is a number of autoimmune issues that can arise co-occurring along with your type 1. I think to a certain extent it's just a case of we need to be aware that if things aren't right, try not to, it took me a long time to go to the docs because I thought sinus, that I just thought, it's just a bit of an infection, it'll go away, it won't cause a problem. The problem with infections when you're type 1 is your blood sugar rises. The problem with the treatment to reduce the infection, it's not a antibiotic, it's a steroid is what they gave me. So that shoots your blood up even further. But that coincided with my horrendous time that I was really struggling controlling my blood sugars when I had to get the pump and the rest of it. A lot of these things can get on top of you. And ultimately, I think to a certain extent, you need to break it down to its constituent parts and go, right, this is a problem. Let me do some research about it. Let me find out what I can do about it. Go and see someone that knows what the hell they're talking about and try and get some advice and some help with it. That's pretty much it, really. This has been and always will be a bit of a nightmare. The one thing I will say is that I've always taken a lot of time over trying to eat well and a lot of time over trying to remain healthy and exercise and stuff like that. And I think that's set me in good stead. And I see a lot of people on Instagram and online with type 1 at the moment. They're a lot fitter, a lot younger and a lot healthier than I am. And these people are doing it ever so well. But I know that you can get into that grind of, and I felt that for a good number of years, I felt that where everything was just getting on top of me and life was not good. And so you have to kind of fight your way out at times and go and just say, right, let me break it down to its parts, because if I look at it as a whole, it's too consuming. It's everything. I wake up, I think about it. Every time I eat, I think about it. Every time I drink, I think about it. Every time I'm asleep, I'm dreaming about it, if I can get to sleep. It's those kind of things that you've got to kind of help yourself on. And that's where I think health and exercise is so important and food is so important. One of the things I would say is running businesses and working in the way I do, it's if you don't have your health, you have nothing. You cannot work without your health. It is a given. Doesn't matter how good you are at your job. If your health is bad, you will not be able to work to your full capabilities. And I'm sure there's plenty of type 1s out there that don't work to their full capabilities, including me at times, because you are struggling with your blood sugars. But what I would say is I'm sure there's plenty out there that have never had a day off of work like I haven't as well because of it. I've had time off to have operations for my sinuses and stuff like that and for doctor's appointments, but I've never taken a day off because I feel like shit. I've never taken a day off because I've had 2 hypos in the middle of the night. I just wanted to talk about this autoimmune issue because it does concern me, it does worry me for the future, and I think the older I get and the longer I've had diabetes for, the more this kind of stuff concerns me. And maybe when you're a young, I know for a fact, when you're a young man, you don't really give a toss about stuff like this. You don't care about that because you've got life to live, haven't you? So, not that I haven't got a life to live now, eh? People with diabetes are incredibly resilient. People without diabetes have no idea what it's like to live with this and to deal with it and be a pancreas as well as have a full-time job and have a family and have responsibilities and have bills to pay and have food to put on the table. That, I think, is a bit of the frustration about being diabetic, and I'm sure with other autoimmune diseases as well. There you go, use the word autoimmune disorders as well. I think we are in many ways legends, every single one of us, no matter what we go through and how hard it gets and what we do. So you know what, I think you need to, if you're watching this and you're going through a bad time, give yourself a big pat on the back, keep your chin up and go again. Okay, anyway, we'll leave it there and we'll catch up tomorrow. Have a good day tomorrow. Okay, the weather in the UK is supposed to be rubbish. Yeah, enjoy your day at home like I will. I've set myself an exercise routine for the week, so I'm making sure whether it's raining, I don't care, I'm going to get out and have a little bit of a plod. Look after yourselves, take care, bye.